what's the benefit for your family so far to have been homeschooling?
The time is our own. That's the relationship between parents and children, and the time is our own. We can choose when we do our study or not, and whether to study or not. We follow our interests, and we don't spend anywhere near as much time on, the toing, the froing, and all the trappings of school. As a teacher, I remember having counted the hours. Oh, this was years ago, before I even had kids. I thought about how much time my kids in my primary and high school classrooms actually did, like how much time they actually did of quality work, and it was about an hour and a half a day if you're lucky. If you can get 2 or 3 hours, I think you're doing exceptionally well. You've got a very nice, easy classroom. But the rest of the time, you've got all that time spent going to school, or the trappings of school, the going home, the assemblings, the lunch breaks, all those things. Oh, and all this time spent on classroom management. And when I looked at how much time I actually had for each child, it was like 10 minutes. When I looked at each of my students, it was like 10 minutes. That's all they got, personal time of mine. So yeah, time's our own. That's the big one.
I've got to completely agree with you. So much time spent between students or between classes. As soon as he started to, it was time to move on to something else. Whereas now, the freedom to actually move on to something else because he's not interested is okay, but he knows he's got to get certain things done. But then when he does enjoy something, and for Jess as well, they just
quickly, doesn't it?
They can just carry on with it, and just really like delve into it deeper and truly discover. Yeah, it's awesome. Have your kids ever gone to school? They haven't, have they?
Never. No.
Never.
They had a brief experience of school when we were in Central Australia. We were at Ginger Puerte, what's that called? Santa Teresa, which is southeast of Alice Springs. My sister-in-law was teaching there, so we spent a week at the school there, just checking it out, spending a bit of time. My son didn't like the whole school thing at all. My daughter thought it was fun because they have a totally different mode of learning there. So yeah, that was their experience of school.
Okay. Very outback one then.
Yeah, totally.
And then what about socialization? Have you had an issue with socialization?
My kids have their own very strong personalities. We come up against people with issues, but no more so than any other child does. I find my kids communicate with adults really, really well. They can be a bit more choosy and picky about who their friends are. I think this might be characteristics of my children. I find they can be a bit more, they will choose who their friends will be. They don't feel that they have to be friends with people just because they're another child, which seems to be what happens at school, is that forced socialization thing, whereas my kids will choose what they want to do, whether they want to take part with that person or not.
And what about things to do in relation to socialization? Do you find that there's not enough to do or more than enough?
I make too much, way too much. And I make it. Like, I'm one of the main organisers in my town. I run a lot of the classes, like I organised the event today. There is never nothing to do when I'm around, put it that way. So I'm just one of those people who organises stuff. I want to do things. I love doing things.
Yeah.
My kids always want to do as much as I do. Like when I say, hey, let's go travelling again, they go, oh, Mum, we don't want to go anywhere again. We spend too much time in the car. Yeah, we don't want to go to the Central Australia again. Like, oh, okay. So the last, lucky for them for COVID, hey, because I was going to force them to go walk about again, down to go and see all their relatives, but that won't be happening for a little while now.
Sort of, what can I ask? Tips. There's so many families now homeschooling, either by choice or still a bit of a limbo in their mind as to whether they want to stick at it or send the kids back to school. What would you say are some of the tips that you can help get through the beginning processes when it comes to starting?
Most people doubt themselves constantly, especially mothers. It seems to be our default setting, self-doubt. We sort of go, oh, am I doing as good a job? Are they learning everything they need to do? Are they doing this? Are they doing that? Are we keeping up with the Joneses?
Yes.
Whereas in reality, there is no Jones. There is no little academic Jones there. Children all have gaps whether they go to school or not. If you're concerned about something, well, YouTube is your friend. The internet has everything you could possibly need. It's all there. If you need guidance, reach out and, talk to one of the people online in the forums, in the homeschooling forums. There'll be always someone happy. And you'll also, if you ask for advice on there, you get a million different pieces of advice. You just pick what you want. You can't do any worse than being in a classroom full of children with one single teacher to look after them. You can't do any worse than that, so don't worry. And people want to say, oh, they won't be socialised. Well, gee, stuck in a classroom with a bunch of kids, all day and one adult for modelling. That's great. That's fantastic socialisation. So really, don't stress and self-doubt all the time. It's a human thing that keeps us alive, self-doubt and stressing about, not keeping up with the peoples. That's a long explanation, that one, if I was going to go there. What's the other? Teachers, it probably helps to know that teachers doubt themselves every day too. Every single day, professional teachers go, oh my God, what am I doing now? Oh my God, I'm not going to get all this taught. Oh my God. And have I done enough? Have I supported these children enough? It's that constant thing for teachers too. So don't worry, it's no different. That's the first piece of advice. The other piece of advice would be going and doing, seeing and immersing yourself is far more important than forcing kids to write or do the academics. Give them time for academics, okay? Some people say, oh, my child is 5 and still doesn't know the alphabet. Yes. Have you been to Europe recently? Yes. Why don't you go and have a nice look at Finland, where they don't start anything till 7 anyway? And if they can read and write by then, good. That's great. If they can't, who cares? Let's just give our kids time. Give them time to explore and be happy and immerse, and just read to them all the time. So yeah,
Fantastic
I think
advice.
if you want to read, if you want your children to read, you be a reader. You have to be a reader yourself, and you have to read to them. If you want your children to be practical, well, you have to be practical. You have to make and do all the hands-on too. Like, there's my failure there. Not exactly a failure, but I'm not very practical and hands-on. I tend to be more an academic type, and thus both my children are too. That's how they've turned out. I wish I could have helped them more with that, but it's not my talent. So I have to get other people in to do those things. Yeah, and I suppose the next thing is where you can't get someone else to do.
Yes.
And where you can't do it, someone else do, if you feel it's really necessary. So, but always go the practical route first, do the hands-on, do the fun stuff. Don't sweat it. And maybe for science also, I would say, don't write too many reports. Okay, keep the writing stuff about the science minimal when they're young, because then you kill the love of it when you write too much of it.
Very
do lots
true.
of science.
You do lots of science.
So
Yeah, you're very sciencey.
Love science, and it's great fun. It's great exploring. Humans are natural scientists. Let the kids go and do it.
Yeah.
And even if it's not great or wonderful, probably the best book to give them so much to do is 501 Science Experiments. It's around here somewhere. I've got a couple of copies of it. No, I can't see it right now. It would be around normally. But 501 Science Experiments is probably, you can hand that book to the kids. It's right at their level. They can read it and do it themselves with everything resourced from around the house. And that's a great way to just get them to go and do it and have fun. If you want to do more structured stuff, I would say go and do one of the homeschooling mums, she does a really good regular journal for homeschoolers of nature science and biology and things like that. And, Nature Study Australia, that's it. It's really good. So those are directions I would go in quite happily for doing some of this stuff. Keep it easy, keep it simple, make it observational. Don't stress it. Don't write too much about it. If you want to know how to do anything, YouTube is your friend. So I think that's about all my tips.
Okay, thank you.